Hey guys, we have this 2014 Lexus RX350 here today, and we're going to be changing out the radiator. This rad has the fittings for the transmission cooler. So I think they offered two options, whether it had towing or not towing, determined if it had those extra ports on there. Most rads nowadays, the aftermarket rads, they just give them to you anyways. And if your car doesn't have the tranny cooler lines, you just leave the caps on them and it doesn't really matter. So first thing that we're going to need to do is pop the hood, and we need to remove this bumper. Now, the book time to replace this is about 4 hours, but if you have radar cruise control, there's a camera in the front, takes about an extra half an hour to remove all those pieces. So not a huge deal. This one does not have radar cruise, so unfortunately I'm not going to be able to show you how that goes. But anyhow, let's get the hood open and start taking some of the trim pieces off. All right, so now what we're going to do is remove all these plastic covers so that we can access where we need to access. The factory clips are very simple to remove. The center of them just pushes down, and then you should be able to just get this out. I'm using a little flathead screwdriver. We may link something in the bio for clip replacements, because these break, and it also comes with a trim tool set, or a trim tool itself to get these out. But this is an aftermarket one. The center just pops up. Same with this one here. But for the most part, like I say, the original ones, the center just pushes down, and then we get those out. So we're gonna go along and remove all of the clips for this shield, and this shield, and we're gonna take them all off. All right, so the next thing that we're gonna need to do is remove some of these components in here to buy us some room, and then we're gonna go to the bumper. So right now, we're going to remove this intake piece, the coolant overflow, and the battery. Now, this vehicle has been driven for a little while, so it's currently hot right now. We need to make sure that the system is not hot when we go to take this cap off. As you can see, never open when hot. The cooling system holds a bunch of pressure inside, and if you take this off, scalding hot coolant will come out and burn you. So make sure that it's not hot. Two 10mm bolts located here. And then also we've got these little vacuum lines that are here. They're held in with some glue. So you can either try to just pull them off of here, and then we can, actually, you know what? Yeah, you could do that and then take the vacuum lines with you with this piece, or you could try to just break this glue off of here, which it's pretty tough. Or option 3, which is what I think I'm going to do, is we're just going to depress these clips and try to get this thing to come out like that. And then we'll just leave the vacuum lines in there, sort of tucked away to the side. And some of these are a little bit tricky to get out, but we're gonna try to take these bolts out. These are notorious for breaking off. Yep, I can tell they're gonna break already, so kind of sucks because they go into metal and this is plastic, so if you try to heat this up, it melts the plastic. But I think I'm gonna try to use the induction heater and maybe a little bit of penetrating oil, see if we can't get those to come out so they don't snap off. So we use the induction heater, we heat these up a little bit. I got them to start moving, which is great. And now I just soak them in penetrating oil. We're just gonna go back and forth until they come out. Same with the battery hold down. This 10mm bolt and that 10mm nut, they love to just get seized on there with rust. So just take your time with them, back and forth. We don't want them snapping off. Take this set aside. Take this off. There's a little J hook that's in here, like that. So I loosen this off enough that I can get this hook out, and then we take that off. Now we just need to loosen this battery. Or get the battery terminals off, sorry. 250. Oops. All right, now that's down and out of the road, take the battery out. All right, now we gotta get this lower intake piece off. Same deal with the bolt. Right. One more of these tabs down here. Oh, I got this thing to come on. Ooh. I guess we'll do it that way. Okay, we're taking the wheels off. You may be able to do it without taking the wheels off, I don't know. But we need to get the fender liners disconnected from the front bumper. So we're also going to remove the undershield that is located underneath of the bumper as well. There's a big shield that runs underneath. So let me grab some tools and we'll get started. All right, this one's got an aftermarket panel on it. Yours might not have any panel, or it might be a little bit different. So they might not be exactly where the bolts are that I'm showing you. Okay, so yours probably doesn't have these Phillips screws that are in here. I'm sure they're like 10mm bolts. And we're just gonna take all the 10 mils out, then we're gonna do the plastic clips. So it should be 10mm here, 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 and here, I think. Okay, now that we've got that center shield removed, we're gonna start to detach the fender liners from the front bumper. So got a few 10mm screws here, just starting from underneath on the very outer sides. So take those out. And then the next thing that we're going to do is actually go into the wheel well area with a flathead screwdriver, and there's some specialty clips that I'm going to show you how to take the pins out of. We've got two of these connectors here, and there, you can see there's like a screw in the center. So how this is supposed to be is the fender liner goes in there and it pinches it like so, and then there's a pin that goes through it. So we got to give it a half of a turn. It might even actually be a quarter turn, sorry. And then pop this thing out. It's gonna have little ears on it. That's what the clip looks like. And they're really stubborn. If they get a lot of dirt and stuff inside of them, they'll get stuck, and then they either strip because they're plastic or they snap off. So hopefully that doesn't happen to you. And if it does, you might just have to like get a screwdriver in there and pull it, or drill it out with a drill and then put a regular screw in there, something like that to re-secure it. So, but anyhow, this just pops off of here like so. And then we've got another pressure clip up in here, so we'll pop that one out. Once again, you get a lot of dirt inside of these things and they don't like to let go. So you can see we're becoming pretty loose now. Just sort of pull this off to the side, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna try to flop this up and sit it on the wheel here and see if we can't get it to stay put. Oh, I lost it. Well, it's better than what it was. At least we can get in there and work. Okay, so there's gonna be a 10mm bolt that's located right in here. So you're gonna have to go in through this way. And this plastic fender liner piece is in the way. You could drill out the rivets if you wanted to just take this out, but I'm gonna see if I can't fold it up a little better. Anyhow, so 10mm bolt, we gotta get that out. It looks super rusty. I'm sure it's gonna strip or snap off, and we'll deal with that later. But once we do that to this side, we gotta do the exact same thing to the other side. Wow, it's actually coming out. I guess it does thread into plastic, so it shouldn't be the 2Cs in there. If it is, penetrating oil, it's gonna be your best shot. Once we get this out, we'll go do the other side, but that's the screw that goes in behind here. The rest is all pressure clips that we'll just have to pull it off. Okay, now we got to unplug all these park assist sensors. I'm just going to check and see. There might actually be some intermediate connector where all this stuff goes into one plug that we can just unplug one plug, but I think we're going to have to unplug them all individually. Okay, for your park assist sensors, you'll see that there's this gray connector that's up in here. We just need to unplug that. That's where all the park assist wiring goes through and then branches off to go back into the chassis. So if we unplug that, we should be able to not have to do all of our park assist sensors. Also, we're just going to twist our light bulbs. You could unplug them if you want. Oh, I guess we have to unplug these ones. But we're just going to unplug all of the fog lights on both sides. And like I say, unplug this for your park assist sensors. I'm going to have to get some silicone spray because these connectors are all packed full of dirt. I'm trying to use the old Swan Lake picks and they're kind of fat. Unplugged, that's our chassis harness, and then the rest just branches off. Now, if we go to the other side, we'll disconnect the washer sprayers. And it's pretty simple to do that on this model. There's actually a quick disconnect that's located down here. So we're just going to try to squish this together while pulling apart. I gotta do it with one hand, sorry guys. And that's going to leak washer fluid all over the place until the tank's empty. So you can either cap that off or catch it in a bucket or whatever you want to do. So it's just going to make a mess. You could also use hose clamp pliers or vice grips too if you want to pinch off that line. All right, unplug that fog light. Now I think we're ready to take the bumper off. So we need to go back up top, undo some hardware I think for that, and this thing should start to come off. Should find there's going to be a bunch of these clips here that look like this that secure this in place. So we pop that off. I think these ones have been replaced with cheap aftermarket ones. These are like a Christmas tree style clip, and you basically just cut those off and replace them, but you could use the fork trim tool as well. Okay, now this should pop up and over. Oh, this is actually a clip too. It's a secret clip. Don't cut those. We need those. Oh, I guess we didn't even need to take those ones off, but that's okay. I'll take them out and we'll replace them anyways. I need some light. Or does that move somewhere? Okay, we've got another black connector that's up underneath. It's right behind the logo pretty much, down a little bit, but same deal with this. We got to unplug this thing. Sorry, my hands are going to be in the way basically. All right, there's a little tab that you gotta lift up that's underneath of that to get that thing off. So right in the center, that thing there. So it sits in there. You gotta stick a screwdriver or something. My flathead screwdriver was too wide to fit in that pocket, but we got it. Oh, you know what? That's just, we don't even have to take that off. The crash bar is part of the chassis. I'm an idiot. I guess we got to take these out first. Those are different. So these, where that 10 mil screw goes in, these clips also have to come out. They're not like the usual style where it sits above the bumper. It actually goes through the bumper. So make sure you get some needle nose pliers and take those out. Here's the plastic 90-degree pick to push in that lock tab and pull it out. All right, now it's supposed to just come out. I got the other side unpopped already. You can see this whole bracket piece is not supposed to stay attached. That's supposed to stay with the car, so. All right, now we got all that undone. Should be able to just technically slide this thing off. There might be some more clips that are in underneath of here. There it is. The tip of that black plastic right there, I'm just going to try to lift up on that a little bit. Maybe. Just like that. And we'll just leave that sort of sitting there. Same on this side. Oh, that one's already let go. And hopefully, if I did everything right, oh yeah, but now we got the centerpiece. So there's a little tab that's in the center. You lift up on that while you're pulling backwards. Hopefully we can take this thing off. Okay, and you just throw this away. All right, we got a bucket underneath this spigot, and we're going to open up this spigot, and it's going to start draining coolant. We're going to let that drain for a second, and then we're going to take the cap off and drain all the coolant out of this thing. We're going to take off a bunch of accessories here, the horns, this thing, whatever this is, and try to just flop everything out of the road so that we can get this off. And we're not going to try to completely remove this either. We just want to get it up and out of the way enough so that we can have room to get the rad out and get the rad fans out. So I guess let's start with taking this thing off. 10 millimeter. Set that down. These things are 12 millimeter. All right, a little cap underneath that bolt. I don't know why that's there, but it is. Now, maybe I'll use the induction heater on these ones. Yeah, we're using the induction heater on those. Oh, it went into the abyss. Hot bolts. All right, now we've got some wiring that's securing this, and also underneath of here we're gonna have a hood latch cable that's running over here. So what I might try to do is I might just string this up to here or something to just hold it out of the road. I think that's probably the easiest way to do it. Okay, we're taking the upper rod hose clamp off. And we'll just kind of stuff that down in somewhere that it stays out of the road. And then we've got to take this overflow off as well as the cooler fan. So this little thing comes off. 10mm bolt here. I don't even know if we need to take this thing off. It might just come off with the fan, but I'm going to move it anyways so it buys us a bunch of room. And it looks like we got a little drain that just sort of plumbs along the bottom of this overflow. Pop that off of here, I guess. Whoops, sorry. Okay, now we need to take all these 10mm bolts off. So there should be, I think it's just 2 of them. And then the fan assembly clips onto the actual rad. We do also need to unplug it as well. You can see here's our wiring harness, this big black plug that comes in here. Unplug that, and then it's secured with, looks like 3 little plastic mount looking things. So I'm trying to get this off. I need a 90-degree pick in order to get underneath of them. The 10mm. Squeeze these 2 tabs together, push that forwards. Should just slide up, I believe. Now, if we lift this whole assembly up a bit, we can kind of get it to come back towards the front of the vehicle. Looks like we got 1 hose that's secured to the bottom of this thing. Need a small flathead screwdriver to get that off, or some type of pick. Be careful, do not break this. It's plastic and it's very expensive. Here's left on it. Okay, so we've got these clamps. They love to rust and then just disintegrate into nothing. So as you can see, this one, the clamp just literally disintegrated into nothing. And now I think what I'm gonna do, some of these, the ears are gonna break, like this one. I'll be surprised if it actually goes. But you see how it's so rusty, it doesn't even, it's lost its springiness. And it's just rotted right to the hose. So there's a couple ways we can do this. You're replacing the rad, so you can either take a Sawzall and chop the plastic neck off and then deal with it once the rad's out. Same with these cooler lines, we can just give them a little cut. Or if you want, you could probably use a little die grinder to cut a slit across this, and then that'll help you get the clamp off. Or if you really had to, I guess you could just cut the hose itself and then put the clamp on, you know what I mean? Like just slice it like here, but I don't recommend doing that. Okay. And yeah, that's gonna suck. So now we're going to pinch these off. Most people say don't use vice grips, but I've been using vice grips since the beginning of time. You just don't put them on too tight or you'll cut the hose. There is hose clamp pliers that you can use. I don't own any of them. And then we're just going to go ahead and take these off. It's going to leak transmission fluid, so be aware of that. Cool. Now we need to get this lower rad hose off. It's probably gonna be hopefully not stuck on there, but probably stuck on there. Okay. Now we should be able to separate things. We've got our air conditioning condenser up front here. It's like the mini radiator that sits in front of the radiator. Two 10mm bolts. We're leaving the air conditioning system closed, so do not remove these lines. This is a pressurized system with refrigerant in it. Do not remove the lines. Okay, now, your air conditioning condenser sits into your radiator. So there's little fingers that sit down and they go into the rad. So we need to lift the air conditioning condenser up a little bit and sort of bring it forwards. And then what we're going to do is we're going to lift our rad up and kind of bring it out this way. And just have some patience because this neck is going to get caught up on a bunch of stuff. You're going to have to work around the air conditioning line. And there's the rad. Okay. So you can see how we got a bit of a slow leak around the seam, which happens on pretty much every Toyota that I've ever worked on. Usually the nice thing about the Toyota coolant is that when you do get a little bit of a leak, it turns into crust and it basically seals the leak. So this thing's been, I guess, had a slow leak for a long time of its life. And, but the thing is it's crusted itself back up and the coolant level really never dropped. So that's where you check on radiators, is where it's a seam. So these plastic tops just get put in there and then they come along and crimp all this down. And there's a gasket that's in there. and they like to leak very slowly. So, yeah. Now we're going to clean all this rust off that's on this hose that's stuck on there. We got to prepare the surface of the hose so that it's nice and clean. So I'm going to go get a little flathead screwdriver so that we can get all of this rust off. All right, so you're probably not going to have to do this, but all the clamps were rotted off on this car, so we took all the lines off and cleaned them all, and we're putting new clamps on. Now this car has the auxiliary cooler, so there's a cooler down here that gives you extra cooling abilities, mostly for towing, but they're really bad for getting a lot of dirt and salt and stuff in them, and then they rot out and they start leaking. So we're just going to bypass that. Now this vehicle doesn't do any towing, so it's not a huge deal. These cars either had the towing package and it came with one of those, or some of them didn't come with them. So if you're somebody that does towing, I don't recommend bypassing it, but that's completely up to you. If you want to bypass it and just basically run these lines right to the bottom of the rad, then that's on you if you have problems with your transmission. But anyhow, we're putting new clamps on here. We got everything tightened down, or everything cleaned up. We're just gonna tighten these down, and then we're pretty much ready to go back together. You can see we sprayed a bunch of this stuff called honey goo. It's basically just a rust inhibitor spray, and that's gonna protect it because this thing is very rusty. Okay, we're gonna put the new one in now. So you can see in the bottom of this lower rad support, there's two little rubber bushings. Make sure that those are remaining in the frame. Sometimes they get stuck on the rad when you're trying to pull it out. Also, on your old rad, you're going to remove the upper mount bushings and set them aside. They look like this. We're going to need them later. Now we're going to carefully put this thing in here and sort of fish the neck around that air conditioning line down here. Shouldn't be too bad to do. There you go, we're in. And then all we gotta do is line up our holes and get those put in. There's one. There is two. Okay. Now we can install this. I just got to check and see if there's something we might need to transfer. I almost forgot to transfer these things. These are for the air conditioning condenser mounts. So the 10mm screws, they just go into the bottom of the rad. These are really... So a lot of times the bolt will just break, but don't worry about it too much. If it does, you'll just have to get a new bolt. But the bolt literally just passes through the mount, so as long as the mount doesn't break, you're good. It doesn't matter which side these go on. They are not left-right specific, so you put them wherever you want. As long as the hole is facing up, that's all that matters. And they don't need to be on super tight, just snug is fine. All right, make sure that the air conditioning condenser is sitting in those holes, which it is, and also that the radiator is sitting in those holes. Take a quick look. Everything should be nice and level and parallel and square. Okay, now we're going to get this hose on here while we have a bunch of room. So it goes on like this. We're going to replace these clamps. The lower one was completely toast, and this upper one isn't too bad, but we're going to change it anyways. We do have some titanium clamps that we're going to put on there so that they never rust off ever again. Does that drop down? Yeah, it has to. I should probably aim those like that so that if you ever wanted to take them off, you can.
From the bottom.
Yep. Now we're gonna put it on like that. Yep, now we gotta tighten those down. Plastic mounts, these are going to seat in the top of the air conditioning condenser. So this groove that's in here, they just sit in there like that. And then we've got some bolts that need to go through into this. You'll see that there is like a little ear that sticks over here. I think these might be left and right specific. Okay, so that one sits in there like that. And then looks like this other one, maybe they are symmetrical and normal. No, they're not left and right specific. Let me get this bolted. These aren't the right bolts in there. All right, those ones just snug. Do not tighten them up a huge amount, otherwise they might break. All right, time for our electric high and low speed fan. We'll just carefully lower this down in here like so. And then we got to line these tabs up. They're on the bottom, I believe. Yep, so there's a locating tab that's in the very center on the bottom. Just line that up with the hole. And then once that's there, you can just pull this so that it pops into place. Give it a quick look down the sides, make sure that everything seems to be sitting where it's supposed to be sitting. Looks pretty good. Now we're ready to install our fasteners into these holes here and here. I'm gonna load them up because these are really rusty. Once again, just snug. We don't want to break the plastic. Now we're ready to route and plug in our electric connector for the fans. So we'll just start by working our way along, finding the locating holes, like so. Then we plug it in. There, that's good. Now we can put our overflow tank on there, along with the overflow hose. Okay, there is a rubber locating grommet right here for this peg that sticks out on the bottom. Also, there's a mounting hole on top. If you want to rinse this thing out, now's the time to rinse it out because it's off. And then we grab our bolt and stick it in here. Once again, just snug. We don't want to over tighten it. We got to heat up and extract this broken bolt, so now's the time to do that. These are pretty easy to get out. if yours breaks and it's on this piece, it's pretty simple because we can access the back of the bolt to get vice grips on it. So all I'm gonna do is heat the snot out of that, put vice grips on it like this, and we're gonna try to just feed it through the rest of the way this way. More heat. Okay, so if you do break any of the bolts and you're looking to get new ones, the larger bolts that hold the horns on are going to be an M8 by 1.25 thread pitch, all metric, by the way. And the smaller ones that are 10 millimeter, they are M6 by 1.0. So if you ever break them, those are the sizes that you're going to need. And now we're ready to basically get this thing on here. So let me just get this flip-flopped around here. All right, now we're gonna put these little rubber grommets on, by the way. I should have did this before, but there's a hole in them and they go in there. And the rad just passes through like so. So just make sure that your center support piece is backwards so it can drop in. Make sure that the plastic isn't in the road. And we'll just pretty much line everything up like so. And then we'll get our 10 millimeter bolts and get those started in there so that we can then put them in. Don't forget the cover, very important. All right, put the clamp back. If you're using these clamps, put them back exactly where they sat. All right, we're done. All right, we're putting new clips in there, remember? Because I cut them. Straight from 10 mil. That actually worked perfect. In. Oh, you heard it go click. That means it's in. Remove L cap. And then we got to find out where we plug this in. Sorry, it's really dark in here. You can't really see anything. Heather? We're just going to put 10 minutes together. Okay. Now we got to put that plastic clip that goes in here with the bolt. Okay, these are on an angle. You can see that, how it's on an angle. So it's important which way we put this. I can't see because I'm staring directly into a light, but it seems like that's the right way. And then get this up in here. There, we'll say that that's good. And make sure that the body line looks good. It's not terrible. Okay, we got to get these clips installed before we... Actually, we can put this in first. Doesn't really matter too much. Slides in there like so. This one's broken, but we're going to take it apart and see if we can fix it. Like that. Then these just pop in. Make sure that that's tucked up in there. Looks good. We got to put a new clip over in here because I broke the other one. All right, plug these things in. So one for your light again. The other one's going to go to that intermediate connector up in here. Okay, now we can put this on. All right, don't forget your transmission cooler line. It goes in there like that. Okay. you want to put a new battery terminal on that? All right, we put a new battery terminal on here because the old one was crusty. Might have a link in the bio for those. Save yourself some money. Now we're gonna put the negative one on, and 10mm nuts to snug those up. Positive first, then negative last. And when removing, it's positive last, negative first. Just to confuse you. All right, we hook one end in first. I got my bolt ready to go. We lubed the hole because we don't want those to seize up again. And then just make sure that your hook's in there. I'm gonna snug this end down first. Then we're gonna do this end. And it doesn't have to be extremely tight. Remember, the case of the battery is plastic, so tighten it down until it doesn't move anymore. That's good. This vacuum fill device here that pulls a nice vacuum on the cooling system, which does two things for us. Yeah, number one, tells us if we have a leak. So we pull a vacuum on the system and then let it sit for 10 minutes. We've held 25 inches of mercury, which is an excellent vacuum. And then now the second thing that it does for us is allows us to fill the cooling system and basically not allow any air to get in. So right now we are pouring coolant into the system. We've got this clear hose here so we can watch and see how much. Now I'm going to close that off because we're almost out. We just sucked down about almost 4 liters. Okay, now all we got to do is just move this thing out of the road. All right, we've also washed out our overflow reservoir here in the garden hose, got all the sediment out of the bottom, and now we're going to fill that up too with fresh coolant. So there is a line that's on the side of this thing right here. That's roughly where you want to fill it up to. It's okay if it's a little bit under or a little bit over, that's fine. And then now what we're going to do, we're just about ready now to start this thing. And we just want to let the engine run to circulate the coolant, which is going to burp any possible air pockets up to the top. And then we can top it off and basically put the cap back on it. And we're also going to show you that we need to fill up the transmission with a little bit of fluid. Not very much, but just some, because we lost some when we took the cooler lines off. All right, guys, so that's pretty much it on how to remove and replace the radiator in your 2014 Lexus RX350. The only other step that we're not showing you now is to just put the plastic covers back on with all the little push pins in them. And also, the other step is to set the transmission fluid level, which there's a procedure for it. And there's a way to do it without the scan tool. I'll show you how to do it. We're going to do a different video for that. So go search up 2014 Lexus RX350 transmission fluid level setting or whatever, and Tech 28, of course. And we'll show you how to do that. And I think that's pretty much it. So rad's in, we filled everything up, and we're pretty much good to go. If you got any questions, throw them in the comments. Be glad to answer any questions you might have. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. It helps us more than you know. And of course, we'll see you in the next one.